All right, it is time to skol with the enemy with JTuck, baby.
Oh, yeah.
All right, welcome back to the Onebar and Lupagus show. I'm Onebar with Lupagus and special guest JTuck, who we were just talking. I think JTuck might be our first three-time guest skåling with the enemy that's not in the NFC North. Yeah. So we're going to have to start sending him checks or something.
Right. What's going on, fellas, man? Thanks for having me back. And like we were talking about it off air, it's like, I remember the very first year I started this, you guys invited me on the channel. It's like, well, that was 2020. Like, here we are, kind of third time in a row of us playing the Vikings versus Cowboys matchup. I say you guys are pretty much our division rivals at this point. So.
It is. It's crazy.
But this is the first time we've done this when I'm actually going to have Dak Prescott the starting quarterback. So 2020 was Andy Dalton. Last year was Cooper Rush. And now it's going to be up to QB4 to try to get the job done. So
old Cooper was not nice to us. He made us look damn money. Silly. So
shocked the hell out of us last year, man. To be honest, Cooper Rush is one of those guys. Every year I kind of doubt him. Like, there's no chance we're going to win this game. And surprisingly, he shuts me up a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens on Sunday.
Cannot wait. We're going to be talking Vikings, Cowboys. Get JTuck. We're going to pick his brain. Before we get into that, remember, subscribe to the channel. Check down the links below. We'll have links to JTuck's channel as well, CFO Sports. But let's just dive balls deep directly into this. As Vikings fans, especially, we want to know what the hell happened last week and why the hell did you lose to the Packers?
To be honest with you guys, I'm still trying to figure out. I think that's the biggest head scratcher for a lot of Cowboys fans is what happened, because going to the fourth quarter, 14-point lead. All right, things have settled. We are finally up. Let's go ahead and get this victory and get away with it. But we've been talking all week, about that boogeyman, Aaron Rodgers. For some reason with the Cowboys, we just can't kill him. And I've been kind of preaching the Michael Myers analogy. It's like, I just need to see the body fully decompose before I give up and feel like we got it, when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. Halloween.
Really morbid.
You guys haven't seen Halloween Ends, the movie?
I haven't seen that one, no.
All right, I won't spoil it for you.
Oh, you scare me.
But yeah, man, I need to see the body. But Aaron Rodgers, once again, he reared his head and the boogeyman won again. And I feel like what really happened, they didn't play to win the game. They were playing kind of punish. I mean, you're up 14 points in the fourth quarter. You got the stop. You had the ball back. You had them pretty much dead to rights. And, they kept trying to pass the ball and air it out. And Tony Pollard was averaging almost 5 yards a carry. Why not just continue to run the ball, give the ball to your running back, keep the clock moving, and get up out there with the victory? And then you go to the whole overtime. We got through to field goal range, even after all the penalties and the offensive offsides. I never seen that, ever in my life of watching football, right? But then it's like, you don't kick the field goal. You don't kick the field goal and put more pressure on Green Bay. You go for it on fourth down. And as soon as that happened, I was just like, it just is what it is. Because I knew that Aaron Rodgers and Mason Crosby were going to get field goal range and still the victory. So, hopefully the Cowboys can learn from that. But yeah, it was a loss that we definitely let slip away that we should have walked away with.
Yeah, and I saw your show after. You didn't seem that bent out of shape. You seemed pretty calm, and you weren't pissed off.
Nah, man, because like I said, speaking of Cooper Rush, I felt like we've stolen a few games with Cooper Rush. Just swap them. This is the game that we shouldn't have won. We should have won, but honestly, we shouldn't have beat the Bengals. The Bengals just had an off game and just turnovers and special teams kind of came through and kind of saved the victory for us. So just swap those wins. Me personally, as a Cowboys fan and content creator, I didn't have us going undefeated. I didn't have us at 13. I had us around 10 to 11 wins. It's kind of coming in. So I feel like we're right on track. But with the way the NFC is kind of shaping up, and especially the NFC East in our own division, you might need to put the pedal to the floor a little bit because, you got the Giants still kind of in the way. You got Philly, and then you got Washington now starting to merge a little bit as well. So the pressure is starting to mount. And you even heard Dak Prescott speak about it when it comes to this game on Sunday. Like, this is just kind of like a playoff game because it means a lot as far as the NFC seeding is concerned. So hopefully they rise to the occasion.
Well, you're wearing your Dak shirt, so I got to ask you. It seems to me, I'm just being an outsider, not really following Dak, but he seems like him and Kirk Cousins are very similar in the fact that they're both polarizing in their own fan base. You got guys who are very supportive, others who are very anti. Is that fair to say about Dak? And then what side of that fence are you on?
Yeah, I think it's the same exact thing that goes on with Kirk. It's like, I said it this morning on Twitter. It's like, all right, I figure like I got the issue with a lot of Cowboys fans with Dak Prescott, and it's that he's not Pat Mahomes. Like everyone is like, they say Dak can't win the big game or he can't do this. And so when people start listing these things, I'm just like, you're really just talking about Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen, because outside of that, Kirk Cousins is having a phenomenal season. You guys are 6-1 currently, or not? What's you 6-1, 7-1?
We're 8-1.
8-1.
We just beat the Bills at
home.
Yeah,
8-1. That's right. The Bills. So 8-1. 8-1 currently. But for some people, that's just not enough, right? They want the excitement. They want the big arm talent. They want the show. I feel like Dak and Kirk, kind of fall into that category where it's just like they are good quarterbacks. And are they the elite? Are they Pat Mahomes? Are they Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers? No, but only 4 NFL teams can really kind of poke their head up and poke their chest out and say they have that quality of quarterback. But as far as being able to get the job done, I feel like Kirk and Dak Prescott definitely fall in that category. And we all know it could be a lot worse. It could be a lot worse if you didn't have Dak Prescott or Kirk out there leading the ship. So, I just feel like Cowboys fans, and maybe it happens with Vikings fans as well, so that some people aren't happy with what they have. They want what everyone else has, but not everyone really has that. So it could always be worse. We could be the Browns. So
oh damn, that's rough.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, a lot of these Cowboys fans, they wasn't around for, the Ryan Leaf era and the Chad Hutchinson. Like, they think it's all just Tony Romo fans and big throws. Like, no, kiddos. It wasn't like that, man. It was a rough patch for your, Chad Pennington and stuff. You didn't want to really poke your head out being a Cowboys fan. So be thankful for what you got.
Let's talk running backs. So Zeke, it appears he's getting closer to being back healthy, but if you're the GM, who's your starting running back? If you're the coach, who's your starting running back?
Yeah, so if I'm the coach, I still split it. I know that's the conversation. A lot of people is like Tony Pollard over Zeke. The way that I pictured it is that, Tony Pollard is kind of your opener. If you kind of think of the baseball structure, he's the guy that kind of you can want to get out in space, first quarter, second quarter, let him get out in space, let him get touches, hit the edges, perimeter, because he has the big play breaking ability. But in the fourth quarter, like, we had versus Green Bay, when it's time to get out of there with the win, you bring in Wild Thing, you bring in the closer, and Ezekiel Elliott is that hammer. When the defense is tired, they're holding on to their knee pads, they're really gassed out a little bit. You come and just pound, move the chains, and get up out of there with the win. So that's the way I would structure it. I think Cowboys fans are kind of put in the situation where they feel like there has to be one or the other. Like, you only have one, right? No, you can have a two. You guys do the same thing with Cook and Madison. Like, there's a lot of different advantages that you have with having a running back duo. Now, who should get the primary touches? It should be Tony Pollard, because I feel like he just does so much more when it comes to your offense. And when it comes to Mike McCarthy, and kind of go back to what he had offensively in Green Bay, he always kind of had that scat back wide receiver type running back. I feel like Tony Pollard fits that mold a little bit more. But here's the thing I keep trying to tell people. From a front office standpoint, they might want to keep Tony Pollard's numbers just a little low because he's a free agent this offseason. So you might want to kind of limit that a little bit. But they're both very dynamic. But the explosiveness that Tony Pollard gives you, man, you definitely have to utilize that more on the field.
Tony Pollard scares the shit out of me. I'm just gonna say that for simple.
I mean, he's just so quick, and all he needs is the smallest crease. I mean, because he's been doing what he's been doing this far, getting 16, 17 carries. Last week was like his biggest carry game, and he was carrying the load. They just kind of stopped and got away from him. I mean, Dak threw for over 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. Pollard had over 100 yards rushing. So things were clicking offensively. I really want to put what happened on Sunday on the defenses tab. But you got to be excited about what you see from Tony Pollard, because that capability, man, and I feel like he really just hasn't reached his full potential, because people forget, coming out of Memphis, he was a wide receiver. So you can get him involved into the passing game as well, which a lot of Cowboys fans like myself been kind of waiting on. So there's so much more you can do with Tony Pollard. So we'll see.
All right. Again, we're here with a longtime friend, JTuck. Go give him a follow, CFO Sports. Links are in the description below. Let's go with defense here. Trayvon Diggs. I mean, I think, again, league-wide, the perception of him is either he's going to intercept the pass or he's going to get burnt. Mm-hmm. Is that fair, or is he better in coverage than most think he is?
Yeah, I think it was an unfair comparison last year, and a narrative that was kind of spread on Trayvon Diggs, because think about this. we've been watching football for a long time. Nobody really counted yards given up, but I feel like with the interceptions that he was getting at the rate that he was getting last year, they wanted to find something, right? So now here's the conversation. Trayvon Diggs isn't giving up the big plays, quote unquote, but he's not getting interceptions. He's not really getting tested as much. Now people are saying, well, where's the turnovers? Is he really? So it's like a give or take. What I think that Trayvon really had to learn coming in from last season to this season is kind of like, you have to kind of learn off the wide receivers. So people forget that he was coming to Alabama. He was a wide receiver converted to corner. So he's still kind of learning the position. And our cornerback coach, Al Harris, has been, very influential when it comes to Trayvon Diggs, is getting him to understand the game from the mental aspect, right? Because he has the talent to maybe gamble on some of those plays. But if you're playing a team like we're going to be playing Sunday with the wide receivers that you guys got, you might not want to gamble as much. And so I think when it comes to Trayvon Diggs, what he's doing this year, he's knowing when to pick his spots and when not to pick his spots. And it's starting to translate on the field where he's not being tested. And then quarterbacks are just testing the other two guys, which we'll talk about here shortly.
It's starting to sound like all your players are former receivers.
Yeah, converted, man. Hell, people forget Micah Parsons was a running back in high school, so he can do a little bit of everything, man. But I think, just having the wide receiver aspect with Trayvon Diggs is why he's able to make some of those great catches for interceptions, because he just has that ball instinct.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Micah Parsons, because I actually wanted to ask a question about him. Has he been found out? The Jets did it. The Packers did what they did. As the key to solving Micah Parsons, is it out there, putting two tight ends on him, taking him out of the game?
No, I think that's one of the ideas to stopping Micah Parsons. I think what you really saw on Sunday versus the Packers, this was the first game due to our linebacker depth that he played his quote unquote position at linebacker. Like, he was dropping in space. He had like 42 overall snaps at the linebacker position and only 10 pass rushes. So it's like, all right, you kind of drafted this kid as a linebacker, quote unquote, but due to injuries last year, you found out that he's an incredible pass rusher coming forward. But, you have Anthony Barr, who you guys are familiar with, who's kind of had an injury. He might be back this week. He's practiced today, but if you're having Micah Parsons just be your middle linebacker, quote unquote, he's much easier to scheme for. Like, you can make him have to cover the curl routes, go and cover the running back, get him out in space and away from your quarterback. And I'm sure any NFL offensive coordinator will take their chances keeping Micah Parsons away from your quarterback. So when it comes to this week, I'm curious to see what's really going to happen how Dan Quinn is going to utilize Micah Parsons. I think you're going to see him more as a pass rusher, because even though you do add Anthony Barr back, you might have DeMarcus Lawrence, who's kind of having some injuries as well. So I think it's going to be all hands on deck. Now, when it comes to the run defense, everyone's been kind of getting their whoopings across the board. So you really can't put that on Micah Parsons. Yeah, they've been our run defense has been getting whooped. It was bad. But I think a lot of people kind of think the idea is put two tight ends on the side and kind of wear them down. But the key with Micah Parsons is making him be that chess piece. You can have on the outside edges, blitz in the A gap, B gap, move him all over. So that way it's not as easy to scheme and prep for him.
Awesome. All right. I think Onebar froze. Can you still hear us, Onebar?
He's deep in thought about how to.
That or he just went complete mime on us. I'm not sure. We'll just keep this thing going. So, if you're a betting man, I don't know if you are or not, but percent chance the Cowboys sign Odell Beckham Jr.
I don't know, man. I started off at like a 10. Then I kind of, the reason why I started getting a little bit more optimistic about it is because you were hearing a lot of Cowboys players in-house speak on it. You heard Dak, Zeke, like it was just Odell, and their eyes were kind of lighting up. Michael Gallup even went on TV, CeeDee Lamb. So it's like, all right, this is a little. There he's back. He's back.
Jeez.
I'm like, this is kind of new in Dallas, right? To hear all the players speak about a free agent, But as of right now, I'm kind of hearing some things that he might wants to sign in December, and then kind of seeing what happened when Ndamukong Suh going to Philly. I'm kind of just on Odell Beckham coming to Dallas. I'm just, it's one of those things. I'll be surprised if I get it for Christmas, but I'm not holding my breath. I just don't think the Cowboys are willing to make that move. And this is the frustration for a lot of Cowboys fans. It's like, hey, you have this roster, you have some of these pieces. You're going to have to sign 23 free agents off this team next year. Why not go all in right now and just push all of your chips to the table? But Stephen Jones just doesn't want to do it for whatever reason. And I think that's a huge frustration when it comes to Cowboys fans. So, I said today on Twitter, I might have to, do a little Suge Knight and visit Odell in his hotel room and hold him off the balcony and give him a sign. But as of right now, I don't know what's going on, man. He's just kind of staying stagnant, and some of the buzz has kind of died down. So he's probably just waiting for his best opportunity. So we'll see.
You
but
could
if
do it too.
I would say nah. It's hold him off the balcony, man. Suge Knight.
Yeah. No problem for you. All right. So where are some areas the Vikings can take advantage of the 6-3 Cowboys?
Well, I mean, man, offensively, and this was one of the games, and I spoke about this even before the Packers game, because I was like, all right, the Packers game should be interesting, but I really want to see how does this Cowboys team fare versus the Vikings, because I feel like this will be the first team we've played that can test us in the air, but also on the ground as well. I mean, I'm a Florida State fan, salute to my nose, but huge Dalvin Cook fan, so I'm very familiar with what he's capable of doing. But then also you guys have Thielen. You also have Jefferson, who's just, I pretty much put him as the number one wide receiver in the NFL. Like, it just is what it is at this point. But then you add, Hawkinson for the tight end. So I feel like you guys can really put a lot of pressure in different ways on our defense, and I'm interested to see how they respond. So as mentioned earlier, when it comes to defending the run game, we just haven't done well. I mean, Chicago's been running all of us. I think we're like 26th in run defense. Don't quote me on that, but we've given up a lot of yardage. Now, the one thing that has helped us is kind of been like this bend but don't break. We give up the yards on the ground, but we keep you out of the end zone, hold you to 3, or maybe get a turnover or block a field goal. It's like that works versus the Detroit Lions and some of these bad teams, but you're playing a team like the Minnesota Vikings, they're not going to give you that opportunity. And so I'm really interested to see what does Dan Quinn dial up. As far as defensively for you guys, I know you guys get pressure, and I think from the offensive standpoint of the Dallas Cowboys, it's just like our biggest problem, I did a video on it this summer, is with Kellen Moore, our offensive coordinator. We have this no identity offense, and it kind of came from when he came from Boise State. So we don't do one thing great or two things great. We just do a bunch of different things well, So we really don't have our identity. So let's say, for instance, we are running it down the Minnesota Vikings, though. You guys cannot stop the run. Kellen Moore will not commit to it. He just can't. He'll just like, I gotta throw. I gotta get out of it. And that's the frustrating part when we watch this Dallas Cowboys offense. It's just like, hey, Tony Pollard was getting you 4 or 5 yards a clip. Just keep going. But he never wants to kind of impose his will. And then once you kind of do that and things kind of hit the fan, you don't know, should you get to the pass, should you get to the run? You don't know where's your home base and where you should get back to. And I think that's the biggest problem with the Cowboys from the offensive standpoint. So, those are two things I'm definitely keeping my eye on Sunday's matchup.
All right, we got JTuck. Hit up his links down below. Give him a sub. You mentioned some injuries already. There's some big boy names on your injury report. You got Zeke, you got Lawrence, you got Barr. Are you expecting any of these guys to be out? Are you expecting who's going to be out? Who's going to play?
I think from the sounds, D-Law is going to give it a go. Zeke's definitely going to give it a go, and I think that Barr is going to give it a go as well. So, the only thing that I'm really kind of keeping my eye on is our corner, Anthony Brown. He suffered a concussion. Now, if you watch the game Sunday, he got burnt by Christian Watson and kind of fell over his feet. So I'm not sure if it's concussion or embarrassment, right? But, I feel like if he is out, with already having our nickel corner out in Jordan Lewis, you have a rookie in Deron Bland, who Aaron Rodgers took advantage of on Sunday. And then you have our second-year guy in Kelvin Joseph, and he's been kind of, their redhead stepson when it comes to a lot of Cowboys fans because you really can't trust him. He's more of a special teams guy. So if Anthony Brown is out, you guys can fully ignore the Trayvon Diggs side and just put Jefferson over there, put Thielen over there, because that's the one. Yeah. No. All right, mute. And I don't give you guys no ideas, but that could definitely be a huge opportunity for you guys, because I feel like our cornerback 2 and 3 are very limited. So, you saw that what happened with Green Bay. It's like, what? I'm not going to throw it at Trayvon Diggs so he can make this big interception, turn the game around. I'm going to pick on these two. What are these guys' names? I don't know them. I'm going to pick at these two. We're going to go at them all game. So that's what I'm really worried about. And I know the conversation was brought up in an interview for Dan Quinn, like, would he consider traveling with Trayvon Diggs? And he kind of said, like, Diggs isn't a travel guy, quote unquote. And I was like, honestly, with Jefferson, I really don't want Diggs traveling because, that's probably a bad matchup because he can do so many different things on the inside, outside. So, that's something I'm definitely going to be aware of is the Anthony Brown injury. I would at least, even though he got burnt and got killed, I would sleep a little bit easier knowing that I have a veteran guy out there versus a rookie and unproven.
All right, JTuck, we mentioned before, this is your third time on the show. When you've been here 3 times, you're going to the same question asked you again. I got to ask you. I think you answered the Lamb side of this last time, but who would you take, Justin Jefferson or CeeDee Lamb, if you could do it all over again?
Man. Well, I just said
knowing
that.
what you know now.
Don't speak from your heart.
Knowing what I know now, I would probably take Jefferson. But here's the thing. Here's the caveat, right? I feel like Justin Jefferson in our offense is CeeDee Lamb in our offense, and you swap them, you get the same results. But I will say this: when it comes to Justin Jefferson, I see the mental and the physical starting to transpire on the field. With CD, I see the physical, but there's still a lot of mental lapses that has a lot of Cowboys fans concerned. If you go back to the interception that Dak threw versus the Packers and also the Bears, that was really on CD. Like, he saw the safety sitting there. He's like, I'm not going to cut there. The safety's there. Like, no, bro, you got to cut in front of the safety's face or it's going to be an interception. So those types of lapses, even the drop that happened versus New York, I would give the edge to Justin Jefferson. But I love them both.
Yeah.
Don't toss Jamar Chase in this situation, or it's definitely going to get tricky for me.
Let's talk weakest link. Vikings, clearly their weakest link. Ed Ingram, our starting right guard, having a little bit rough go at it as a rookie. When you look at the Cowboys starting roster, who is that guy that just makes you cringe? Who gives you heartburn?
I'm trying to think. Well, so I like Ed Ingram out of LSU. Honestly, I would say my cringe guy would be Kelvin Joseph, the corner, if he's out there. I just feel like from the mental aspect, he's one of those guys, if you guys ever played sports, like, he doesn't need to stretch. He can eat hot dogs before the game. He can just go out there and run and jump with the best of them. But just here, I mean, even on Sunday, he was all over the place, didn't know his spots. It was just chaotic. So I would say Kelvin Joseph defensively. And then offensively, I would say our left guard and Connor McGovern. I just feel like Connor McGovern, he's very spotty sometimes. And for some reason, we know that we brought in the veteran of Jason Peters from Chicago. I thought he was going to be our left guard, but he really hasn't taken that position. They're sticking with Connor McGovern. So offensively, Connor McGovern is kind of my guy. And I would say from the secondary aspect of defense, Kelvin Joseph is probably my weakest links.
Nice. All right, last one for you. Again, thanks again for hopping on. Third time has definitely been the charm with JTuck. Not that there are two or anything bad, but you don't have to give a score. But how do you see things shaking out on Sunday? When you're undefeated at US Bank Stadium, Cowboys come to town.
Yeah. I think the Cowboys will edge this one out. I just think they will. I think they will. And the reason why is because I think they're going to come with like kind of a back to the wall approach. Like, I feel like they're thinking like, hey, man, we can't slide 2 in a row because we turn around on Thursday and play the New York Giants for a divisional game, right? So I feel like they really need this one. So I expect them to play a lot better than they did on Sunday. They want to come out and prove themselves. So I am going to go with the Cowboys by 3 over the Minnesota Vikings. Hopefully this time Mike McCarthy takes the field goal, right? Like, just take the field goal. It's indoors. It's nice. Just take the field goal and get up out there with the victory. But I have to go. If I gave you a score, 27-24 Cowboys.
Wow, there you have it. Give JTuck some hell down in the comments for that. Head over to his channel, give him a sub, give him some hell over there too. So JTuck, appreciate you hopping on, man. This is fantastic. I love, like I said, 3 times a charm. And it's been wonderful. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. We'll meet again for playoffs, maybe.
Absolutely.
Whole time, baby.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Yep.